Hello and welcome back to Kaleidoscope. We're here after our summer hiatus, and September is a very special month to anyone who's a teacher. It brings back all of the memories of our own getting ready for school, pencil boxes, and worrying about where we're going to sit in the cafeteria. But most students, especially as they get up into middle school and high school, worry about their student outcomes. And this is what this episode is about, student outcomes, but not the ones you typically think of as a teacher or a parent or a student. It's not about grade point averages. It's not going to be about where you rank in your classes or how well you did on the MCAS, or much less how you did on your SATs, but rather about how students are following their passions, how they're making a commitment and a contribution to their community, and looking out for others just like them. This episode is called Student Outcomes for a reason. We have two wonderful guests here with us today, a current student and one recent graduate. However, we don't want to forget those who came before, who followed their own dreams, all the way to gold medals, Academy Awards, and invitations to Carnegie Hall. Today, we're talking to two young people from Westboro about their dreams, their commitments, and how they are putting those to work for the community. So I'd like to welcome first Veronica.
My name is Veronica Njuguna, and I'm a rising senior at Westboro High School.
Thank you. And
my name is Aagam Prakash. I'm a recent Westboro High graduate, class of 2023, and I now attend Emory University, where I'm at the business school there, entering my sophomore year.
okay, that's wonderful, and I'm so excited to have you. One of the things that I talked about a little bit in the introduction is that I, as an educator, I'm trying to make sure that the full concept of what a student outcome is, rather than statistical information, how you did on your MCAS or what college you're going to go to, and I'll let you know that no one in your life will ever ask you your SAT score once you're in college. Never again. And yet everyone asks about, what is my score? What's more important to me, and I think to our audience, would be what part of your education and your family education helps shape you for what you want to be in the future and what you're seeking for now. So we're going to let Veronica go first and just talk about a couple of wonderful things that you've been doing at Westboro High School. You're going to be a senior, but you started a lot earlier, and I have to say that I've known both of these students for some time in their academic journey. So I'm really excited for others to hear their story. So do you want to start, Veronica?
Yes, so in my sophomore year, me and my friends started an initiative for the library, and we first got proposed to do this through DECA, a business competition, and for our written presentation, we were supposed to find a business or company that had a problem and write up a strategic plan. We decided to go to the library after we kind of failed reaching out to this one business where the guy didn't want to get involved and have us collect data. We sat down with the library director, and she let us know how she was having a problem trying to raise awareness and all the value the library had, because she had just lost an $8 million grant that was going to be put to improving the library, but unfortunately so many people in the Westboro town declined it at town meetings and weren't enthusiastic at all, and were very rude and kind of looked down on the plans of expanding the library. So in the strategic plan me and my friends came up with, it was all just about raising awareness of the library and its value through different programs. So one of the programs was a volunteer club, because Maureen let us know that she wanted to bring reading to different communities in Westboro. At some point she had a specific employee going to different communities in Westboro to read to kids after school. But because she couldn't get more money for the library expansion plan that was going to go to hiring more employees, she couldn't facilitate the program anymore. So me and my friends came up with an idea where we can have students volunteer and one employee can go along. That way they can still facilitate the program and kids can just help out, and there wouldn't be any further cost because it was volunteering. Mm-hmm. And our second plan was a Food and Connect campaign, because even though not a lot of Westboro students go to the library, over 80% of them go downtown every week. And when I mean downtown, I mean they walk to Bay State, they walk to food places, etc. So we came up with an idea where we could get a brochure and there could be 3 holes that you could get puncher cards in. And every time you checked out a book at the library for pleasure, every time you participated in an event at the library, or you had a study session at the library, once you completed those 3 things, you could get an incentive from one of the local food places. Because one of the main driving factors for kids to walk downtown was the fact they could go have leisure time and go to the Coop, they could go to Panera, they could go to Cha-Cha Beans. So our plan was to kind of give them an incentive to participate in the library, but at the end of the day, leaving, finishing the program, knowing now I'm aware of the value at the library, and now I know something I can come back to.
Mm-hmm. And were you able to initiate any of these ideas?
After the competition, me and Ella really thought that this could be super impactful. So we started going to meetings that the library director held where other people in the town could speak up. And unfortunately, we could kind of tell most of the people at these meetings were all of the naysayers, and all the people that would be saying yes to this plan weren't able to make it. Mm-hmm. And at some point, we did reach out to Maureen so we could get it going, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. But me and my friend Ella still reflect back on that time because it kind of showed us how we learned so much about the library, and we really pushed ourselves in even the research process. And it took a lot of courage to do that, you know? It took a lot of courage to go to the meetings and hear all of the negative feedback when Maureen was trying to do something positive. And I think it shows how learning can be more than just studying and applying information on other things, but it can also be putting yourself out there and expose yourself to certain like real world problems where you're actually trying to solve it based on like critical thinking. Mm-hmm. But
now you have, you did go through, DECA is a competition. DECA, I'm sorry. And you go through the process and you got to the state level and you were part of the top groups. What's to say that you can't still initiate that plan, especially about the food incentive? So that's something to think about in training someone else. You had one other spectacular event this last school year that is new, absolutely new to Westboro and Westboro students. So why don't you give us a little talk about that?
So me and my friends started the Black Student Union at Westboro High School because we kind of felt like a lot of the Black students at our school didn't all know each other, but we all felt that need to have that kind of space and community. So that led us to finding an advisor, a Black teacher that was able to be on all of the paperwork. And we started the club initially just to have that community where we could hold space for conversations and have fun with each other. Because when you're Black in a white sphere all the time, it kind of reminds you, it kind of makes you super hyper aware of your Blackness, you know? And when you can be in a space where you don't have to think about that, it's really comforting. So that was like the main motive of making the club. But our teacher thought that we should do an initiative at school to also expose just the school body in general to Black culture in a healthy way, especially since it was Black History Month and the school had never really done anything for it. I kind of have a feeling most schools do initiatives aligned with minority groups when there's a lot of minorities at that school. You know, a lot of schools in the South even have something called Cultural Day where kids dress up in cultural clothing, but that's not necessarily something done in specifically Westboro. I know just a few years ago we had Colonial Day, which is extremely different. So she had an idea that we should just do something and let the school know what the BSU is about and kind of just express that culture. So for the whole month of February, every morning on the announcements, we would play a song by a Black artist, just like a little snippet intro, and then after we'd say a quote. And all the quotes were by Black activists, Black artists, etc. And it would either encapsulate just a deep thought and something to meditate on the day, or it would just be something encapsulating Black culture in its totality. But I do have a few examples that we actually did say on the announcements. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutualities, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. That's by Martin Luther King. I am America. I'm the part of you you won't recognize, but get used to me. Black, confident, cocky. My name, not yours. My religion, not yours. My goals, my own. Get used to me. Muhammad Ali. So we would just say quotes like that to inspire people and just offer a different perspective of what some of these known Black people had to go through. So.
And then you had an event.
Yes, and then at the end of the month, we had an exhibit where we had 5 stations. One was a sport, music, trivia, and invention. And we also sold food. So we had gotten food from an African restaurant and a Jamaican restaurant, and we sold food to raise money. But throughout the exhibit, we had a documentary playing, and we had different stations so people could learn about Black culture, Black athletes, and anything that thus exemplifies Black excellence during the month of February. So one station we had geography trivia where people could learn about the trivia of Africa. We had another station where we kind of had, I don't know how to explain it, but we had these like machineries where you'd press the button and it would play a song and a snippet of a song, and you'd have to guess who made the song. And we did songs that people would most likely know. Mm-hmm. We also had another sports stations where we had writings on the wall and you had to guess what athlete it was. We also had another station where we had a ton of materials on the table and people had to guess what inventions were being explained by the volunteer, and those inventions were invented by Black people that most people wouldn't know. So we had a mop, we tried to make a three-light traffic light.
Oh, that was the one I found really interesting, the 3-light traffic light. Yes. Since Westboro only has 2 of them, I would think that many students wouldn't even recognize a 3-light traffic light, but it was an African-American man, correct?
Yes,
and
yes.
Who was that?
I think Morgan Garrett.
That's right, Morgan Garrett.
Yes.
So that's really exciting.
Yes.
And how many kids came? Was it required, or did you just
It wasn't required. Teachers were able to voluntarily sign up, but we could only do the exhibit over 4 periods because if we were having the exhibit down, that meant I had to be pulled out of class. And our BSU advisor thought it would be too much if I was being pulled out of class for more than 2 periods. So for 4 periods out of the day, we had 4 classes come each period, so around 320 people each day for the 2 days. And during that time, we also sold food to raise money, but yeah, it was really impactful. This year, we're looking forward to doing the same thing, but just making it better since now we've kind of had a test run. When we did that, it was the first time of ever putting on an event. It was the first time for any club actually in Westboro to put on an event that immersive and expansive. So now that we've done it once, we're planning on doing it twice, but making it better.
And do you know the data about how many students recognize themselves as African American?
At Westboro High School?
In your group that you have now?
Right now there's around 30 of us, but because the freshman class is coming in, we're expecting it to grow to 40.
Okay. Well, your accomplishments are amazing, and we're going to come back to you at the end to talk about what gifts you have looking forward. So, the Emory student.
Yes.
Yes, and we have a history of working together on your college entrance pieces, and I was so impressed with your accomplishments, especially things you did as a high school student. So why don't we start there?
Sure.
Trip back to your time here in Westboro.
Absolutely. Well, I think, I did a good amount of stuff in high school, like I feel like a lot of kids in Westboro do, but absolutely one of the most impactful things I felt I did, and one of the things I'm most proud of, was my founding of the Teen Mental Health Initiative here in Westboro with, some of my classmates, not just from here, but actually some friends from where I grew up in Arizona, and we kind of got together and really realized, this was during the peak pandemic era, that mental health, especially among adolescents, was suffering in a way it hadn't in a long time, and that was becoming very apparent. because kids are at home all day, they're inside, they were on screens all the time. And on top of that, we felt that there wasn't a lot of student voice out there, advocating for the thoughts and feelings and needs of these students. So I kind of decided, I'd already done some nonprofit work that was health related, and using this platform that I had been fortunate enough to be a part of before, I asked if we could, found this initiative. And really the goal was just for students to have a voice in mental health and, try and do things to direct policy, to, help teachers and things like that, just understand our perspective on these things, because mental health is a massive issue for adolescents in America, even today still, now that we're out of the pandemic, and we just wanted to bring some light to that.
So you created a nonprofit?
Well, we created an initiative under an existing nonprofit, but yes.
And did it just stay in Westboro?
So no, I was fortunate enough to some of the people I brought on very early on were motivated, and then also from different parts of the country. Again, because this was pandemic time, everything was online, and that made it normal and accessible for us to use things like Zoom. So my initial team was actually based out of Arizona, and I was the only person here in Massachusetts. And kind of working together, we were able to come up with a system and some programs that we could disseminate anywhere in the world, really. So it was a bunch of digital resources regarding mental health that we sort of accrued. And once we did that, we were able to, kind of figure out that if we started chapters within schools, then we would be able to, get this in the hands of students, and then those students would have access to adults, their teachers, their administrators, that could help guide them through, what to do with this information and what to do with how the school might be feeling about mental health. So we started a chapter in Arizona first, then one here, and eventually we were able to have, dozens of chapters across the country in many states, and that represented thousands of students. So the impact we felt, even just sitting behind a computer, we were able to help so many people by giving them access to mental health resources, by destigmatizing mental health, and by giving them education, about these things.
And I remember distinctly in your essay, when you were talking about this, how it affected you personally, knowing that there were people out there who were in need, and you had this ability or this vision to make it happen, that they could get support, that other students could see and hear them, that they needed help, and maybe connect them with someone else. But you didn't necessarily learn that in school. So that's not in your academic output and how well you did. So where did this interest in entrepreneurial and all of your desires to help people in mental health, was it something from your family? Was it something from your own life? Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the mental health, path that it took in terms of getting so involved in that happened because if somebody in my family was having difficulties with it, and I kind of realized that absolutely I have resources, I have this platform, we have a great school system in Westboro that allows you to not only succeed in the classroom, but do things outside of it that have impact. And so I decided that I wanted to take part of that, and fortunately as well, my mom, she's actually done nonprofit management in the past, so she was very helpful and influential and encouraging for me to kind of go out in the community and make a difference I could, which was with this issue of mental health. And I think one of the driving factors for me initially was just curiosity. When this happened, I was a freshman in high school, and one of my family members was struggling with mental health issues, and it was a little bit confusing for me at the time because I hadn't really known much about mental health issues. I was like, how could something like this really even happen? I don't think I was maybe mature enough, however you want to say it, but I didn't really understand. And so that curiosity kind of lit a fire inside of me where I really did, first a ton of research, and then I realized that, this was a very prevalent issue. And then after that, fortunately, I was able to have access to resources and people who helped me then create some impact in the community afterwards.
Now you're working on something now, still in the health area, that's expanded outside the United States.
Yes.
And so, and there's no course you're taking to do this. This is part of your, your curiosity, your vision, and your desire to help. So can you give us a little, without tipping off everybody about, because it's still in the stages of development, but
Sure.
can you give us a little hint?
Yeah, so going into college, I decided the mental health thing I would leave is more, I would be in an advisory role because I felt that this was something we had developed for teenagers and high schoolers, and they're still doing that. They've actually been able to expand it to India as well. But now that I'm in college, I kind of wanted to combine my desire to create impact with my, as you mentioned, entrepreneurial spirit and my love for entrepreneurship. So with some family in India, I've actually started a tech startup and a digital marketing firm called Sinopia, where what we do is we help medical professionals digitally market their service so that people who need their services can find them. And then on top of that, these business owners, right, because that's what a lot of these medical professionals are, is small business owners. They can take the time that they might have use doing social media or optimizing their website. They can take that time and invest it into properly running their business so that their patients can get the care that they really need. And on the other side of things, the patients are able to connect with and find doctors that really are going to have the services that they need very, very desperately.
So you're using technology and your entrepreneurial spirit to provide health facilities, because the more time they can take away from doing the mundane things of their business, they can apply to patients.
Absolutely.
And again, what class did you learn that in?
Can't say there was a specific one.
But somewhere along the line, whether it's at home or at school, something lit the fire. Can either of you remember anything in your not so distant pasts? Because I think I have shoes older than both of you, so I think I'm wearing them actually. What sparked this desire to do good, to create something? Because sometimes you have a good idea and you don't do anything about it.
Right.
And other times you explode with ideas and you don't know how to do anything about it. So what is it in your past? Did you have a moment? Did you have a mentor? Or something happened at school and you just went, oh, I'm going to do this. Who would like to start?
Yeah,
first,
I can
yeah,
go
absolutely.
first.
Okay.
During the COVID year, actually, when I was at home, I grew very, very bored. And I think, just as he mentioned earlier,
very fair.
it was really hard mentally, too. I mean, at that age, you're just used to hanging out with your friends, and now you have to stay inside. And even the classroom is online now, And I remember one time, I just decided, I was like, Mom, I want to make bracelets. Like, I want to do something for fun. And that's when I had started an online business when I was 13. And that was so much fun for me, I feel like I needed a creative outlet and I wasn't doing anything with my days. And online school itself was just draining, looking at a screen from going from in-person to online. And I think what it was is I had the freedom to think and do whatever I wanted to do. I didn't have any restraint of, oh, I need to get this done, I need to do this. So I pretty much spent all day making bracelets and the second half of the day posting them online to sell. And now that I think about it, I think it's just because I didn't have that restraint at that age, Even kids, if you told them something, they're so gullible, they believe it, just because they're not in the real world, they haven't, nobody has crushed their dreams. But I think at that age, when you just have that childlike spirit and you go with it, you have that freedom to be creative and you don't really let anything stop you. And I think that's because when I had done that at a young age, now that I'm older, I tell myself, if I did that then, what can I do now? Mm-hmm. Even with the restraints I have now, because I'm older.
Yes, and because you're older and you have school and you now have the other outcomes that you have to manage as well.
Yes.
What about you?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think I've always enjoyed, so we've talked about this a lot. I've always been a very curious person, and it was those experiences, in high school, starting this mental health nonprofit. I did some other entrepreneurial work at that time, and what those really taught me was that curiosity without some sort of purpose or outlet is it's great, but it's not benefiting others. And I've really kind of realized throughout this entire journey, I couldn't say there was one particular moment, but I just kind of, found that I have, these wonderful resources, this wonderful place of Westboro, these great people who are also very driven and motivated, right? Who are doing other great things, and through that community, I can use, whatever curiosity, whatever fire's like been lit under me, and use that to kind of make positive impact. And that's really what it's been all about. Even now that I'm in college, I switched to doing a business thing instead of a nonprofit, but that's allowed me to now hire people in India who have, technical skills that now people here are able to benefit from. So all in all, it's been, just a process of realizing that I can really do whatever I want if you, more or less put your mind to it.
Well, you give me great hope for the future, because you both have the voices of many other students that we don't hear from. And so I thank you for having the courage to have ideas and work on them, but also to come and share with us and tell us your story. So thank you again. And thank you all for joining us for this episode of Kaleidoscope. Oh, guys, you're so wonderful.